Hello. We are here to talk about August and how we did with our reading. And I was a complete and total failure this month. So this is going to be more Sir Chonk than me. I started out and I was going to take part in Garbaugust, which I really wanted to do. And the first week was read a romance or a men's adventure. The second week was something from Paperbacks from Hell or Vintage Smut. Week 3 was a novelization or a book by famous people. And week 4 was anything
Why
goes.
are you reading the rules to the thing you didn't do?
Because this is what I had already told them I was going to do.
Because you're a liar.
And I read, that seemed easy, right? 4 books. And I couldn't do it. So in the first week, I did read both things. I read a men's adventure, which was Max Brand's Ambush at Torture Canyon, which is 3 stories about, like, the Old West. And they were fine. I don't like Westerns.
What happened at Torture Canyon?
They were ambushed.
Was there a torture?
No.
What the?
It was basically just like this Western guy doing Western guy things. I don't know. It was boring.
Did he grab hold of a saddlecock?
No.
Oh.
But anyway, so that was the men's adventure, and it was fine. I don't really like Westerns, but I figured I'd try it. And then category romance, I was like, oh, I'm going to read Verl Spencer's Morning Glory, because I loved that book when I was younger. I'm going to reread it. And then I discovered about 10% in, I did not love this book, because I hadn't read it. It was Bittersweet by Laverne Spencer I had loved, and I hadn't read Morning Glory. And then I read it, and it was fine.
You know what's an unfortunate name? Laverle.
Yeah, well, she's 903 years old.
That's terrible.
So, those were the 2. So I started out the month with those. And then also, to go with my Garbingo bingo card, I was like, oh, there's all kinds of fun things on here. And I had stocked up. I was all ready. I was going to read all these things. And I started my month with 2 Gronkowski Erotica books.
The Gronking
to Remember, and a Gronking to Remember too. Chad Goes Deep in the Neutral Zone. And I gotta tell you, these were way funnier than I expected.
You can't go deep in the neutral zone. That's not how it works.
No.
I feel like the person who wrote this does not have a good understanding of football.
At one point, like, Gronk, spikes a ball into her ass on, the field of Gillette Stadium.
Well, that's believable, but you can't go deep in the neutral zone. That's not how the neutral zone works.
Well, anyway, you also can't make, ice sculptures out of your,
Why would you go deep into the end zone?
I don't know.
That makes more sense, even from an erotic wordplay.
Okay, well, anyway, Chad did that.
Deep with the tight end. That would have been better. Well,
that's not what happened. Well, she doesn't have sex with Gronk.
Deep with the wide receiver. There's so many options.
Anyway.
Inserts the penis into a thing. That's less playful, but accurate.
Anyway. So this is what I read this month. I started with those 2.
Did they grab a saddlecock?
No, they grabbed other things, though.
That's what I figured.
And those were funny. They were what you expect. I kind of was tempted. I didn't rate these because, they are what they are.
5 stars.
They're Gronkowski Erotica. So if you are looking for erotica about a girl's fantasies about Rob Gronkowski, there you go.
And both of you, this is the book.
Right. But I was like, this is a perfect excuse to read these books because I'd heard about them years ago. And actually, if you should, I'll link it. But there's a video of Gronk reading a part of one of them, and it's pretty funny. Anyway, so everybody was giving it 1 and 2 stars, and I was tempted to just give it 5 stars and be like, you bought and read Rob Gronkowski Erotica. So why are you giving it anything other than 5 stars? Because it is exactly what you anticipated.
There were no Keats Easter eggs in it at all.
Yeah, I don't know what they were looking for. It was what it was, So anyway, I read those 2 and then those 2 other things for Garbaugust. And then I was like, I can't do this. So I didn't finish my bingo card. And I was like, I gotta read some arcs and read some good books. Because I was just like, I need to read something good. So those were the first 4 books I read this month. And then I read Bad Moon Rising by Louisa Cologne, which actually counted towards Garbaugust because it had killer kids in it. But this book was one of the characters was murdering animals on the 3rd page. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't like this book. So it wasn't for me.
It was not about Andre Rison?
No.
Oh.
So that was not a good book.
No one's going to get all these football references I'm making.
I mean, you're on the booktube.
That's
What
what
were you expecting? All right, so then I read a good book, and this is How You Lose the Time War by. I'm not going to say these names. So
Steve?
No, it's not Steve. But this is How You Lose the Time War is really good. It's science fiction. I guess romance, but it's not like romance. It's like. So it's these two people on opposing sides. One is basically like part of like this technical, like tech kind of cyber tech, destroy the planet. Everything's going to be taken over by like robots and machines. And then the other person is part of basically like an environmental terrorist group. But they time travel around different periods in time, obviously, to like shape different events that have happened. To win the time war. But they start running into one another in a lot of these places and they fall in love.
Great.
And it's them kind of leaving hints and leaving letters to each other. So it's like epistolary sci-fi romance. I absolutely loved this book, and I don't even know if I got most of the book because it was like so literary and poetic. And because it's in epistolary writing, there's also not like a ton of like explanation or world building in terms of like explaining what's going on. You just kind of have to pick it up as you go. And so I was like, this is a 5-star read, and I'm pretty sure I'm too dumb to really understand all of this book, but I loved it. Beautiful, very literary. I mean, definitely refreshing after like, you know, Gronkowski Erotica and Lavelle Spencer, too, so.
Fun fact, I thought I was in a time war once, but it turned out a clock had just fallen on my head.
Anyway, this was a great book. So, I don't have a lot of good things to say about the books I read this month, which is why I was kind of a fail, because I just didn't read a lot that I liked. And then this really, really stood out to me. So, I loved this book, highly recommend this book, and then we're going to move on to some more things I didn't like.
Yay.
So then I read Alice Hoffman's The Invisible Hour, and I'm really disappointed in this because I was so excited. Alice Hoffman is obviously so, like recognized as this, like, amazing writer. It was set in Western Massachusetts, which is where I live, and it was about a girl escaping a cult. I mean, these are all the things I love. And because she wanted to read and had fallen in love with Nathaniel Hawthorne's Scarlet Letter, and that, like, freed her.
What a curious book to fall in love with.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, it, like, was okay. The first, probably third of the book was interesting. It was, like, her and her mom in the cult, basically. And
Band
then...
name.
Her and her mom in the cult,
yeah.
And then it went into, like, she met Nathaniel Hawthorne and traveled in time and fell in love with him, which isn't accurate, according to Nathaniel Hawthorne's biography. And all the times, like, Nathaniel Hawthorne showed up, it didn't feel like he was, like, an authentic character.
Wait, but have you checked his biography since she went back in time?
No, I have not. But the thing is, it felt like his character wasn't a character. It was just, like, someone had read the Wikipedia article on who Nathaniel Hawthorne was and threw in all the, like, facts from the Wikipedia article. And then, this is going to sound super, like, petty, but, like, early on in the book, she talked about something about, it was a fiery blaze, like the witches of Salem, and I'm just so angry, because, like, she's from New England, like, the Northeast. Like, everyone on the planet, I think, knows that no one was burned in Salem as a witch. They were hung, except for Giles Corey, who was pressed to death.
He got stoned.
So, this might seem petty, but maybe it's because I'm from the area. Maybe it's because, like, Nathaniel Hawthorne is, like, you know, from Massachusetts, and I'm from Massachusetts, and I just didn't feel like, I felt like the book just wasn't that good. And then I also... The second half, I mean, it felt like nonsense. I didn't feel like there was a lot of character development. And then it just didn't feel, like, authentic at all. Like, I felt like there was, like, no research at all into Massachusetts. which seems weird because I'm pretty sure Alice Hoffman was born in like or is from the Boston area, and I don't understand. So I don't know if her editor just didn't care. I don't know if like she had this ghost written. I have no idea, but I was really disappointed.
It's like that time I got mad when the book wrote that people left Massachusetts to go visit Maine to look at fall foliage.
Oh yeah, that was Stephen King.
What in the hell? We got that here.
And that was Stephen King.
Yeah. It's like all those Massachusetts tourists coming to Maine to look at the fall foliage. I'm like, have you been to Massachusetts? What the hell?
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying is like these are authors who live in the area. What are they doing?
They just get their heads lodged in their ass and they can't seem to figure out what's going on.
So, I don't know. I was just so disappointed in this. Like, this should have been everything I loved. I mean, classic American literature, like cults, like women like fighting to be free and independent, feminism, Western mass, everything I love. And then there was like this whole thing of like this like lesbian couple in like Concord, and I was just like, this should be literally my favorite book of all time, and nothing in it worked. So I was really disappointed in this book.
Yay.
Then I read What Still Burns, which was also an arc.
The Olympic torch.
And
Still burns.
I don't even remember what happened in this book.
There's this fire.
There was a fire. Her whole her family farm burned down or something, a ranch, and then she had to go back to sell the house. But honestly, I thought this was going to be some kind of cool mystery and interesting story, but it was just basically she went back to her town and fell in love with her ex-boyfriend from high school, and I was just I don't know, I just checked out because there was too romance, and so I don't even remember. August was awful for me. I don't remember most of what I read. I didn't like a lot of what I read. So, all right. So the next two go together. I actually did like these.
Wait, you said you read 8. Wasn't that 7?
That was 8. So I actually read 11.
What the hell are you talking about?
I lied. I read 11 books.
Ugh.
But 2 of them were Gronkowski Erotica.
Those are your favorite ones.
No, this is how it was. The Time War is the only thing I liked until these 2. All right. So these 2 go together. And I don't know how to say his name. Joshua Moehling. So I had the arc of Where the Dead Sleep, but to be able to read it, I really wanted to read the first in the series, which I didn't need to, because it's just basically the only connection is the detective. But you get to meet some of the characters in the first book, and I think that they do reference little things that happen in the first book and the second book, so I'm glad I did read it first. I think I like the first one better too, but so this series has this guy, he's this sheriff, well, he's the acting sheriff in this small town in Minnesota. And he, in the first book, his cousin happens to live in the town, and her daughter goes missing. And her daughter's this good student, but she's been dating this guy who's known to be a drug dealer. And they both go missing. They're high school kids. And so we know from the beginning of the book what has happened to these kids. And I mean, I'm not going to spoil it because it's obvious in the first 2 pages, but the guy gets shot and the girl has been...
Wait, a drug dealer got shot?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the girl's been kidnapped by this
America
creepy
today.
dude. And she's being locked. He has this room where he used to lock women so he could abuse them.
Mm-hmm,
and he hasn't used it in a while, but now he's using it again.
Yeah, it's just storage for old magazines for a while.
No, I guess he's just using it in case. So he's still got it. But so we know, because it alternates chapters of him. It's kind of like Silence of the Lambs, where you are kind of real time. I mean, I don't know if it's real time, but you're basically following along, and you're on the sort of before the clock runs out. Will he discover the clues while we're watching, or before this guy, loses his mind and kills his girl?
So it's almost like a war against time. Or a time war.
Okay, the Time War was the best book. But anyway, so in this book, yes.
I like the chapter in Silence of the Lambs from the lamb's perspective. It's just him running away from mint and jelly for 10 minutes. It's awful.
All right, anyway. So in this book, we got this guy. He's really cool. His name's Packard, and it's funny because he's gay, and then in the second book he was waiting for them to use that against him, but they don't. But he's they aren't even creative enough to use my name. They use it, but it's in this dumb way, and he was just come on, I mean, it's written for you. But But anyway, yeah, so this one's good. It's like I said, it's kind of like race against the clock. What I thought was really interesting about this one is that he made the villain kind of sympathetic. Like, the whole time I was kind of like, he's turning a new leaf. He's gonna change. He's gonna be a better person. Because he felt really guilty.
Doesn't he have, like, a room?
Yeah, but he felt...
Like, I mean, I think it's too late.
Right, but he felt guilty, and then, like, he feels bad for the girl, and he, like, starts getting her books because she wants to read her,
that's fine.
her AP English books, and he, like, takes care of her, and she's diabetic, so he's, like, getting her insulin for her insulin pump, and then I was like, but then, like, obviously, you know, he's got a history of, like, murdering women, so, you know, he's got to cover that up. So
everybody's got a flaw.
Anyway, it's just, like, it's kind of... I liked it because I thought the characters were really interesting. I liked the small town. And then in the second book, which is what I had the arc for, this guy basically is shot in his house. His wife has no idea how it happened. And, you know, this is an actual mystery. And, like, so everybody's kind of got, like, everyone's a suspect. But he's, in the same time, the guy who was the sheriff, the reason he's acting sheriff is because the existing sheriff had colon cancer and was dying, and so he had appointed him. Now he dies in the second book, and so now he's actually debating on, he doesn't want to run, but of course there's this, like, deputy who's, like, a total failure at life, and he's running, so he's like, maybe I will run. But what's actually really interesting about that part is, like, that does not work out. You know, usually in those kind of, like, these kind of books, it's like, of course he's going to win and become the new sheriff, and he doesn't. Spoiler. It's like a side part of the story, but, so I thought that was, like, I just think it's really fun. So I'm definitely interested in seeing more of these books. I found them interesting, and I found the main character kind of appealing, so. And then I read Come With Me, by Erin Flanagan. I actually DNF'd this book. This was an arc, and I gave up about 40% of the way through because the character was so irritating that I literally just wanted to punch her in the face the entire time. And, like, all she did was start crying constantly.
It's like that girl from that space book that I hated. She'd cry about everything.
I mean, she's literally just crying constantly. And so, like, her husband's dead. Okay, fine, like, that's sad. But, like...
Get over it.
No, like,
it was last Tuesday.
It's so it's about this girl, basically, and she was an intern with this other girl, these two women, when she got right out of college. But she didn't do much in the internship because all she wanted to do was hurry up and get married. And now, like, 10 years later, she's, like, married and has, like, a teenage daughter or like, actually, it's like an 8-year-old daughter. And her husband has died. And now she just, like, doesn't know what to do with her life. So she, like, somehow connects with the girl that she had the internship with, who's like, oh, you should totally move back here and I'll get you a job. And then, like, supposedly the other girl's evil. And, like, we kind of get that. But, like, honestly, the whole time I'm like, she's like, I don't know, she seems very controlling. So don't hang out with her. Like, and then every single thing that goes wrong in her life, like, she's, like, late to work and she starts crying. And then, like, somebody says something about her, like, shoes, and then she cries. And I'm like, stop freaking crying. Every single page. And then, like, the movers are, like, get lost, and they have to, like, bring her stuff, and they're, like, delayed because there's, like, a freaking, like, earthquake or something as they're, like, moving her stuff from California to Ohio or something. And so they're going to be a day late, and then she cries about that. And, like, honestly, it's just, like, she just wouldn't stop crying. And so I went to Goodreads and, like, read reviews that had spoilers to find out if, like, I was like, maybe the twist is, because it was like, you don't know, how much do you know your friends? So I was like, okay, so this other girl's supposed to be evil. But I was like, maybe the twist is this woman is just insane. And, like, she's the one who's playing the victim, and she's really the evil one. Yeah. No, that's not the plot. The plot is the other woman was evil, and then she, like, pushes her off like a, I don't know, like some farm in some, like, barn or something. I don't know.
Cries about it.
And it was like, yeah, I mean, it was so irritating. I have never read a character that irritated me more, except for maybe the girl from 50 Shades of Grey. Like, and she didn't cry about everything, at least. And so, I don't know who this is for, but it wasn't me. And so that was not a book I liked. And I know I said I wouldn't give bad reviews, but I had a really bad month. So, Sir Chonk, maybe you had a better month. You did. You actually had a couple books you liked. Oh, we're going to start with books I liked, though, that you hated. So the first one is Daisy Darker. Why don't you tell us how much the greatest book ever is crap?
Oh, man. I don't even remember half the stuff that I read. So, yeah, Daisy Darker. This came with a massively huge recommendation from Coleridge Girl. And it was pitched to me as basically like locked room murder mystery in a creepy old mansion. People getting killed off. I was like, well, hot damn, this is exactly what I want. But what it actually is a bunch of like whiny people like complaining about their family life and having like family drama for like 90% of the book. The character is like a twist that like you figure out pretty early. And like the murder mystery parts are actually pretty decent, but there's such a small part of the book. I mean, this just isn't for me. It's just not my book. Yeah, don't listen to him,
because like everyone else loves this book.
Yeah, I don't care about everyone else. Like, if you loved it, great. I'm glad you read a book that you enjoyed. I hated it. It was just not a mystery. It was just like family drama garbage. People like whining about stuff the whole time, and it's just like I don't really need to be reading books. Like they be doing stuff like they walk into a room. And she see like a rug, and she's like, "Oh, that rug reminds me of." And we have a 15-page story about like the rug, like from her childhood. Then like, "Oh, wait, weren't we looking to see if there was a killer?" "Oh yeah, but look at that candle. That candle reminds me of this one time we were at the beach." And she talks about that for 8 minutes. It's like, what is going on? This was awful. I mean, if you like really like dramatic, irritating family stuff and like a tiny bit of a good mystery, then this is definitely the book for you. 2 stars. Would not read.
Literally every person I know other than Sir Chonk loves this book. It's like a 5-star read. So do not take his opinion.
Whose review is this? Is this everyone's review?
No, I know.
Like, they have the ability to look at other reviews.
Okay, so
and also, if they already read the book and liked it, they're not going to be like, well, you know what? Now I don't like it. Because Chonk, no, that's probably not going to happen.
All right.
I hated it.
The next book is Hide.
Oh, Jesus. This is another book you recommended to me.
Yeah, but I recommended this with, like, a caveat that I was like, so you may not like it.
This was like some kind of the premise was the premise was interesting, but the execution was awful. So basically they have like this contest supposedly where you hide and seek in this carnival, and whoever gets caught last.
It was an old amusement park.
Whatever, old amusement park. You want some more hairs to split while you're at it? And of course, we all can figure out, based on the book jacket, that this isn't going to be an actual contest. They're going to be getting killed, and that's exactly what's happening. And, like, I don't know. Some of what happens is just absurd and just unbelievable. The characters are mostly very unlikable. I'm like, just everyone get caught and murdered, please. Everyone should get caught and murdered, but it takes forever. And once again, there's just these really, really long stretches of the main character just like whining about her lot in life. And I just don't care about characters just endlessly whining. If I want to hear someone endlessly whining about stuff, I can listen to literally anyone in the world complain. Everyone complains, including me. I don't need to be reading books about people complaining. The ending was goofy as hell.
So, this book did not come with a massive recommendation. I liked this book. And Sir Chonk watched my, listened to my recap and was like, that sounds interesting. So that's why he read it. However, I even said in my review that, like, parts of it didn't really work for me, but, like, the parts of it did, and I thought, like, the mood was kind of creepy throughout. And what I liked about it was the note at the end that really changed things for me, because she talks about how, like, basically it's, like, a metaphor for, like, school violence.
Yeah, great. It was still a shit book.
I loved it.
You can say it's a metaphor for anything you want. If you read a shit book, it's still garbage.
So moving into another book he didn't like, Duma Key.
I need to reread my reviews of these. I can't even remember what the hell I thought of half these things.
You said this one was about a guy whining and then a sea monster.
Right. So this guy gets like hit by a car, and he's a successful like construction dude. He's like super wealthy. And like his arm gets like whomped off in the car, so he's like only got one arm, and he almost dies. He's like, oh my god, I'm dying and stuff. So his wife's like, well, I don't want to be with some one-armed jerk. I'm gonna divorce you. He's like, oh no. And he has 2 daughters, and he constantly talks about his daughter's boobs, and one of it, because that's what Stephen King does.
I thought that was the other.
That's everyone. He talks
about his girlfriend's boobs. The other book.
Yeah. He's like, wow, my daughter sure has big boobs. Like, what are you talking about? Who the hell does this? Anyway, one daughter doesn't give a crap about him, and one really likes him. But like, it's some kind of the daughter's written so weird. she's supposed to be like 28 or something like that, and she talks like she's like 4. She's always like, "Yay, hello, Daddy, I've missed you." It's like, what is going on with this relationship? And I just feel like Stephen King really wanted like a daughter to like really like him, and so he just wrote that into the book. Anyway, this guy, he moves to Duma Key to go and relax and not kill himself. Like, it's really pretty down there, and he takes up painting, and it turns out he's a great painter because he's in a house that magically makes your skills increase dramatically. So he's like the world's greatest painter. And so everyone's like, "Oh my God, your painting's amazing." This book's like 650 pages long, and like 400 pages of it is just like him in Florida talking to his friends about how like he's a good painter and stuff. Then he realizes like the paintings kind of like, they don't exactly make things, they can kind of make some things come true. So like there's this like child killer that he discovers is going to be in prison, so he paints him with no face, and the child killer like suffocates and dies. Like, oh, that's kind of neat. But then things are going along, and it's generally pretty boring, and all of a sudden then there's pirate ghosts. That's right.
Pirate ghosts are fun.
Yeah, but you need the pirate ghost to show up before page
Murdered by Pirates is cool.
Right. You need it a little earlier than like page 480, because if you're like almost 500 pages into a book and like there haven't been any pirate ghosts, and suddenly there's pirate ghosts.
He did that with The Shining and it worked.
Yeah, well, no, but he hinted that there was stuff going on in The Shining.
Yeah, that's true.
This is just like, well, this painting is kind of weird, and pirate ghost monsters, you're going to fight this ghost monster. And you're like, okay.
Do you actually like Stephen King?
I like a lot of his books, just not too many of the ones written after like 1990. Anyway, it was kind of a mess. There were some parts that were okay. He needs to get to the, if he's going to have like weird supernaturally stuff, he needs to lean into it a little earlier.
The next one is also Stephen King, Joyland.
Oh, here's another one in a carnival. What the heck
It's not a carnival, isn't it an amusement park?
What the heck happened in this book?
A guy has a girlfriend and then like wants another girl or something.
Oh God, this is awful. This is
a book I like have had on my to read list because I love carnival and amusement park books. But his review was so bad that I just like took it off my list.
Yeah, so this kid, he's like in his early 20s, and he like decides he doesn't know what to do with himself after. Oh, he's like before college or the year. It's like the year after high school, so he's like 19, I guess, whatever. And him and 2 of his friends join in this, like, amusement park thing, or carnival. They treat it like it's a carnival, even though they say it's an amusement park. According to some reviews, it's the best. It's not accurate, but I've never worked in either place. But anyway, he works there.
Carnivals move.
And, like, this doesn't move.
Don't.
And so, like, basically, he's just all sad about this girlfriend of his for, like, half the book, and it never matters. Like, this doesn't ever come up into the actual story. And then there's this other girl that he talks about her boobs. And then there's this girl who's a fortune teller, and he talks about her boobs. And then this other girl later on that's like a MILF that he likes, and he talks about her boobs. In case you didn't notice, this is a thing that like is very common thing. There's a girl in a Stephen King book, the boobs are going to get mentioned. But anyway, and they're all huge. Everybody's got massive tits. So anyway...
This has become the most inappropriate book review. You've like sworn...
Grandiose who tears. So anyway, apparently there was a murder that took place at this place originally. It was like a ghost story. Is it real? Is it not real? Who knows? But then we discover, oh no, it is real. And this person's actually been a serial killer. And they've been killing people at different amusement parks all around the country for like years.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yes, but they don't do anything with that part of the story. They don't get to it till halfway through. They reference it a couple times. And then they're like, oh, the killer could be, who could the killer be? And literally... this is like a Scooby-Doo episode, where like the only people in the episode are Scooby and the gang and one random guy.
Well, Scooby and a bunch of girls with big boobs.
Yeah, well, they talk about Velma and Daphne's boobs, no doubt. But anyway, so it's Scooby, the Mystery Machine gang, and like one other guy in the cartoon, and then they go to reveal the thing. You're like, I bet it's that one other character in this story. That's what this is like.
Is it supposed to be rated like that? Because isn't it like one of those hard case crimes?
Yeah,
like
he
noir
thinks he's running a noir mystery, but he doesn't know how to do it. There's really only one person it could conceivably be. And then, like, they build up as the reveal, and you're like, yeah, oh, no kidding.
Is there a detective?
No, it's just some dumb kids. But, like, and then, like, 93% of the way through the book, they're like, oh, this character, by the way, they're an elite sniper. They're incredibly good at shooting stuff. You're like, what did this come into play for? And then, of course, they have to be, like, this amazing shooter, like 22 pages later. He's like, I'm not going to just make this happen all of a sudden. I'll put it in 20 pages earlier. totes believable. Anyway, this was really awful.
Everyone likes this book, but...
Yeah, people are dumb, though. Don't forget.
So moving on.
Yeah, that was
I
awful.
think you actually liked the next book. It's Lost Symbol.
Oh, it was okay. What did I give it, a 3, I think?
Yeah, you said it was pretty solid.
Yeah, it was like, it was a little bit like sloppier and goofier than sort of Da Vinci Code or Angels and Demons.
But not as bad as...
I really love... Inferno was garbage. No, it was like still pretty decent. You know, he has like the same characters. He just changes their names every book. Well, except for Langdon, who keeps his name. He's the same guy.
Oh, you said you didn't like it as much because it was set in D.C.
Oh, also it's set in D.C. So we get Da Vinci Code set in Paris. Ooh, fun city. I like it. I've been there. And then Angels and Demons set in Rome. Oh, fun city. I like it. I've been there. And then this one's set in D.C. Oh, that city's boring as crap. I hate it. I've been there. Right? D.C. is boring as hell. Do not go. If you're like, let's go to D.C. for vacation, don't.
Yeah, there's nothing to do.
And at like 6 o'clock, everything closes. You have to leave the city to go anywhere. It's like, anyway, but so it was okay. The Mason stuff, like some of his theories, like this, I feel like he's always a little bit wacky with his real theories that he goes to. These were like a little more crazier, I think, than the other ones. But it was still fun. Like the real time pacing is cool. You know, it's a fun read. I don't mind reading it. You just have to like put the, you know, suspension of disbelief or whatever on overdrive to get through it.
Yeah, I mean that's typical of his books.
Yeah.
But they're fun. They're really easy reads.
Yeah, it's not his best, but it's also not complete crap.
All right, and then you moved into your 5-star. You haven't had a 5-star review in a long time. I'm not even going to tell them. You're going to reveal your 5-star read.
Okay, so I stumbled upon a series of books
from me
that I haven't read them all yet. There's 7 in the series. I only read the first 3. I read them pretty much right in a row. And I was like, I got to save the rest of these. Okay, I didn't own them, so I had to buy them. But I've now bought them.
No, we own the
first
3.
Irrelevant. But anyway, I've only read the first 3. But boy howdy, is the first one a delight. So, is there a subtitle for the first one? No? Is it just...
Yeah.
I forget what the subtitle is. Oh, so this book is Bunnicula, A Rabbit Tale of Mystery. You may have heard of Bunnicula. He has a series of books, as I stated. The first one, oh, folks, what a taut, nail-biting thriller. So you've got our 2 main characters, Chester the cat and Harold the dog. Harold is generally the narrator. He's kind of a pud, but he's nice. And Chester is very much an aggressive seeker of mysteries. He always finds something wrong with what's going on. So they buy a rabbit or a bunny. And then mysteriously vegetables are losing their color and being sucked dry. And then Chester realizes that Bunnicula is somehow able to escape his cage and murder these vegetables in the middle of the night. He's like, well, I'm not going to stand for this. So they try to like prove it's Bunnicula and all this kind of stuff. Then Chester tries to like trap Bunnicula and like find some ways to like create havoc and stuff. It's quite an adventure. Mystery, suspense, dead vegetables, a dog. What else do you need?
A cat.
5 stars. Yeah, the cat's out of his gourd. It's great. The only thing I would have liked, Bunnicula doesn't do too much. He does a little bit in this book. He appears, he sits in a cage. Every so often he sneaks out and kills a vegetable. Maybe. But like, he doesn't ever talk, even though he's in the title. But it's mostly the Chester and Harold. But the dynamic between Chester and Harold is fantastic. By the way, the dialogue in this book, it's a children's book, but the dialogue is extremely witty. Like, there is some clever stuff that, like, you know, designed for people who, like, I don't know, who are educated adults to pick up on and enjoy. It's really clever. The dialogue is spectacular. 5-star read. Loved it.
All right, and then your next 2 continue that in that path. Those were 4s, though.
Bunnicula 2,
Howliday Inn.
Oh, Howliday Inn. So in this one...
Bunnicula 2, just called Howliday Inn.
So in this one, Bunnicula appears for about 1 paragraph. Maybe 2. He's like, they see him getting packed up and brought to someone's house in a cage because the family's going on vacation, and so Bunnicula is going to stay at a friend's house. Great. Whereas Harold and Chester, have to go to the vets, or like it's not a vet exactly. It's like a kennel kind of place.
The Howliday Inn.
The Howliday Inn, and that's where there's a bunch of other animals there. I think there's 8 other animals there, and they all have their own kind of personality. And something is afoot. Once again.
At the Circle K?
No, not the Circle K. Strange things are not afoot at the Circle K. They're afoot at the Howliday Inn. And Chester, who's a lunatic, thinks 2 random fuzzy dogs are werewolves. and he's convinced they're werewolves. Spoiler, they're not werewolves. But there's definitely some shady goings on. A character, an animal disappears, and they're like, what? So they're trying to talk to all the other characters. It's kind of like a locked room murder mystery, but no one gets murdered because they're animals.
Better not get murdered. I don't
Right?
like that.
But an animal disappears, and you're like, oh, and so they're trying to figure it out. And Chester's like, I think I know what's going on. And then the next day, Chester disappears. You're like, no, but Chester's the brains of the outfit. Harold is just a bumbling oaf. So then Harold has to bumble himself around and try to figure out what's happening. Who's at fault? What's the chaos? It's good. It's like more of the same. So like I gave it a 4 because I had just read like the first time, but it was still also very excellent. I recommend. Boom.
And then you have the third one, which has the best title.
Yes. So the third one, Benicula, the Celery Stalks at Midnight. Once again, Benicula appears on like one page. He's basically not even used. I kind of forget exactly what the mystery was in this one, but what I do remember,
like the title.
the title is great. But so at the Howliday Inn, they sort of make friends with this dog Howie, and then the family decides to adopt that dog also. So Howie gets thrown into the mix. But Howie kind of ruins the Chester Harold dynamic. He doesn't ruin it, but he makes it kind of annoying because he's like super stupid. Just always like getting in the way. Yeah, he's like when Scrappy Doo showed up, and you're just like, well, this has ruined the show entirely. It's not that bad. He's not anywhere near as bad as Scrappy Doo, but there's a Scrappy Doo like feel to it, and it really brings down the overall sort of quality of the book. Still very good, still fun, still has a lot of wit in it. I still really liked it. I still gave it a 4. But I'm worried that if this Howie fella is going to be more and more involved, that I'm going to start to maybe not like them as much. And also, can't Benicula do something? In the last 2 books combined, he's like been on like 1 page. Anyway.
All right. So
still good.
After you finished those 3, you read the classic by Robert Louis Stevenson.
Black Arrow?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I read Black Arrow. I like Robert Louis Stevenson's writing style a lot, so I was like, I'm going to read more of his stuff. And so I had this book, Black Arrow, so I read it, obviously. But he likes to adapt the style of the setting he's writing in. So, like, you know, Jekyll and Hyde, he's writing a Victorian style, and it's amazing. Treasure Island, he's writing like a pirate, and it's amazing. And this one, I guess he's going for that sort of, like, I almost want to say Elizabethan style, even though it's not actually set then. But it's set during the War of the Roses, and it's got, like, he writes it sort of like Shakespearean vibe almost, and it doesn't work quite as well as his other stuff. But it's still pretty fun. It's a classic adventure novel, War of the Roses. One of the characters' name is Richard, and this girl's always calling him my good dick, and it's like, is that deliberate? Is she, like, being a hornball here? Like, what's going on with this?
So. It was written in, like, the 1800s.
Yeah. But anyway, so my good dick, he's our hero, and he does all kinds of stuff. There's a ton of people getting shot with arrows. If you want to see people get shot with arrows, this is the book for you. If you want a protagonist who's constantly being caught and imprisoned, this is also the book for you. It's, again, the War of the Roses stuff is cool. They don't give you tons of detail, like some of the main people are involved and some of the main events are mentioned, but I feel like I would have liked it more. It was a little more detail on like the historical elements, but still pretty fun little adventure book. Not the best Robert Louis Stevenson, but worth reading. 3, I think, gave it a 3.
Yeah. And then you wrapped up the month. Well, you kind of technically read this in September, but we'll just throw it in. Is with another children's book that I liked.
I read a lot of children's books this week. This month. That's all I read. It's like 9 books. It's not that many.
Well, you started Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Yeah, didn't I read something at the beginning of the month?
No.
What did I read before Duma Key? I forget.
You just went over them. You read Daisy Darker.
Anyway, who cares?
I mean, I'll go to your.
No, I don't care. So, what did you say I read here?
Westing
Game. Oh, yeah, another book that I read kind of indirectly as a result of a Coleridge Girl recommendation.
You read this way late, too, though.
But it's for kids, so, like, obviously it's not for me. But it's meant to be, again, here's another, I feel like I always get stuck with these things. I really like the book's premise, or I think what the book's premise is, and then that's never what it is, and I just always get very disappointed. So I thought this was about some guy who dies and then leaves his heirs like a contest, which is what it is. But then I thought they were like trapped in this house and having to solve the crime. But no, they just go back to this apartment complex and like hang out and eat dinner a lot and drink coffee and walk around and trip and kick each other in the shin. and like do annoying, stupid stuff. There's like 16 characters. Like 4 of them are memorable, and the other 12 are just one amorphous blob of like irrelevant people. And you're supposed to saw, and the clues are so doopy.
It's for kids.
I know, but it's like, okay, I get this, but this is dumb. And then the mystery is kind of silly, and the reveal is really bad, and it's not written very well. It's not funny at all.
You were supposed to try to imagine reading it when you were in like 3rd and 4th grade.
If I was in 3rd grade and I'd recently suffered a massive brain injury, I think maybe I would have found it slightly amusing. But I didn't, so I don't.
You have the Badlands of Hark on your best books of all time.
That book's astounding.
When you read books as a kid,
that is a keystone
of
literary universe.
Anyway, so that's our wrap-up. I failed horribly. I am so far behind. I have a million arcs I need to read. So hopefully September will be better. What are your plans to finish Jonathan Strange?
I'm probably not going to read anything pretty much in September. Hardly.
Well, you'll probably pick away at Jonathan Strange.
Well, I won't finish that.
Maybe you should do a comic wrap-up for September.
Maybe. I don't even hardly read any of those lately.
All right, maybe do a fantasy football wrap-up.
Yeah. All the injuries I have.
All right. Yeah, he's already like.
I already got one.
All right, so that was our August. We didn't do so well. Sir Chonk actually did really well. This was a good reading month for you.
Well, we had the same amount of books.
Yeah, but 2 of mine were Gronkowski Erotica.
3 of mine were bunny-based.
Okay, so, I mean, the bunny-based are better books, though.
Don't use alliteration on me.
Anyway, so you can see we have very different tastes.
Mine's good.
So when we have, like,
Yours is awful.
When we have books we both like Bunnicula, you can tell like, it must be really good because there aren't too many, like, some of the classics we should share.
Or books that we disagree with on a lot, you should go with what I say.
No, you shouldn't.
Because I'm better at stuff.
Anyway, bye.
Boop.